Welcome back. Today we talk about the why. Why are you overthinking? Yesterday we talked about the what, where I gave you a couple of examples on how does it look like when you overthink, what situations, what go through your brain, how does it work in your daily life. And today we talk about the why. Why are you overthinking? Where does it come from? What is holding you back to stop overthinking? You got a homework, so I hope you've done it and you let your brain do the magic and find over the day, so yesterday, about your reason for why are you doing this. Your rating from 1 to 4, you picked one, and then I asked you to just let your brain do the magic. And I want to go back to the question that I asked you, and it was hold on a second. What is the reason for me doing X, Y, Z? Now, here's the thing about your brain. I particularly choose these wordings because when we ask why, and I know in some areas why, the 5 whys, etc., it's a nice exercise to get to a deeper knowledge about the problem. But when we come to psychology, when we come to your brain, NLP, why triggers defense. So when I ask you, why are you doing this? Your first reaction might be, I don't know. Let me be. I don't want to answer this. So your brain easily goes into defense. But when I ask you, what is the reason? Then your brain goes into searching mode. Then it looks for, oh, a reason? Let me have a look. And that's why it's important to choose your words wisely. There is a whole session on wording in the Back to Me program. Oh, that's Charlie, one of my lovely dogs. And it explains why the words that you use matter for your personal life, for your relationship, because your thoughts create your reality, and the words that you choose create your reality. Simple as that. But let's continue. So we talk about why you overthink. And what I would like you to do is just have a listen to what might ring true to you while I go through these reasons. So the first reason is uncertainty. Many of us don't like uncertainty. It's like we don't know what's going to happen. So we have to imagine scenarios about what could happen. And now it depends on how your brain is wired, how you trained your brain, how the filters are set in your brain. That's where you tend to go. And often it goes into catastrophe, into the world goes down, it's not working, they are not good enough, I'm not good enough, etc. So into the negative, if you want to split it easily into positive or negative. Now, the thing is, uncertainty, it's a given. Yeah, we don't know what's going to happen. You might have that soft touch or that spiritual touch where you know what the future will hold, where you have that feeling, that intuition, that knowing. Beautiful. But you don't know how it's going to play out. But either way, uncertainty, not knowing how things going to happen, that's what causes us anxiety. And anxiety is, in the simplest way, an over-imagination of what could happen. And like I said before, you probably wired your brain to go into the negative, into the catastrophe. And you do that with your partner, maybe. They say, we need to talk. Yeah, we know that sentence. We need to talk. And we don't know what they want to talk about. So we think about reasons, about what could it be they want to talk about, and we build scenarios in our head. And they probably are all negative with a painful outcome. And that's what we don't want, do we? Because that's, again, puts stress on your body, puts stress on your mental load. And when you do that with everything that comes along, which you probably do, it's draining and your relationship will suffer. Because when you are afraid of the uncertainty, and when you build up these scenarios in your mind, you're not in the present, you don't see the current clues your partner is giving you, you might overreact as a consequence of your fear of what's going to happen. And often uncertainty is connected with control. We want to control the outcome. We want to know. We want to be prepared for what's coming next. And here's when we come back to the lack of self-trust. Because if you would trust yourself that whatever comes my way, I can handle it in one way or another. I don't know how, but I will. There is no need for control because you just know you have that trust in yourself that you can deal with it. And there is no need to be afraid of the uncertainty. You might even take it on with open arms and say, yes, come here. I don't know how. I just know I will be okay. So that's the first reason, the why you overthink, the fear of uncertainty. Another reason could be that you want to avoid the pain. Because as soon as these emotions come through and your brain puts them into feelings, it might not feel nice. You might not want it. You might want to get rid of it. And the most common thing that you probably do is to push them away. And you push them away by thinking about it, because thinking sounds better than feeling, because feeling hurts. I want to share a personal story with you. And it was with a partner of mine, and they told me that they betrayed me. And it was painful. It hurt. And what I said is, I need space. I need to go and think of what to do next, how to deal with this situation. I need to think about it. So off I went. I went to a friend's house and I stayed there. And in my brain, I was going through, what do I do? What decision do I make? How do I deal with this? Why did they do this? Why didn't I see that coming? Yeah, we talked about this yesterday. So I thought thinking will get me out of it. Making a decision get me out of it. And that decision comes by going through all the scenarios. What if I stay? What if I leave? What happens next? And of course, it was an overrun of my imagination because I could not probably know what's going to happen. And after suffering for a couple of hours, it hits me. What hit me was the thought that I don't need to make a decision now. I don't need to think about the next steps now. I can just feel the pain, as uncomfortable as it is, and see what's going to happen. So walk straight into that uncertainty and be okay with it. Long story short, sit with your feelings. You overthink because you want to avoid the feelings, the pain in your body. And that's okay. Awareness is the first step. Be aware that you do that. Be aware that overthinking, imagination, thinking of all the scenarios. And usually what happens, I see that with so many of my one-on-one clients, when they overthink, when they run with their imagination, it usually has a bad outcome. It usually shows them that they're not good enough. They can't make it without the partner. They won't be able to do that. So they have all these reasons, this list of why this is so bad. And it doesn't even occur to them that it could be a good thing. It doesn't, because again, your brain is wired to go into those scenarios, into the worst outcome that you can possibly imagine right now, because they don't want to feel it. They don't want to feel that pain. But the beauty is, as soon as you sit with your pain, it loses its power. I've seen that over and over and over again. It loses its power. Yesterday, I saw a video about the difference between a buffalo and a cow. And this guy said, I don't know if it's true, so I'm just repeating what I heard, but I like the analogy. So a big storm is coming, and the cow runs away. The buffalo runs into the storm. So the buffalo runs into the storm, feels the pain, gets indulged by that storm, and then runs through it. And that's it. The cow, on the other hand, who's running away from the storm, get caught up. The storm is catching up with the cow, and they continue running and they stay in that storm because they don't stop. They don't face it. They just run away. And that's, I think fits beautifully in this avoiding the pain through overthinking, because with overthinking, you run away. You are that cow. But if you choose to be the buffalo, to just face it head on and run into it and sit with it, you will be fine. So let me get through the third point. I'm just checking, yeah. It's recording. Yay. You believe overthinking helps you. This is connected to uncertainty, but it's not the same. And I remember I had phases, I had times in my life where I just said to people, I need to think about it. And it's not because I didn't know what's coming next. I just wanted to think about it. It had nothing to do with me feeling, it had nothing to do with me going through my emotions. It was just thinking, making in my head a little list of if this happens, I'm going to do this. If this happens, I'm going to do this. If this happens, I'm going to do this. So plan A, B, C, D, E, F, whatever. To, again, a bit of control, a bit of uncertainty, but we are prepared. So we need that control. We need to have these different plans, these different scenarios to feel safe. Again, we come back to the lack of self-trust. Because if you would trust yourself that you can handle whatever comes your way, you wouldn't spend that much time in finding solutions for imaginary problems or scenarios. But it gives people the feeling of safety, of security, of I know what I'm going to do if XYZ is happening. But they spend a lot of time in thinking about this. And when something changes, just a little thing, a little detail, drama, because now they have to overthink everything again. They have to go through each point and make a new scenario, make a new solution. That's stressful. But that might be one of the reasons why you overthink, to feel safe, because you have a plan. I know my partner is one of those people. He loves to have a plan. I'm like, let's see what's happening. Because we're living in China, and we're leaving in about 2 years. And he already wants to make a plan of where we're going to live, what we're going to do. He has plan A, B, C, D. For me, there's just one plan. And to me, it's just like, let's see how we get there and what we're going to do then. That's it. No fear. I trust myself. I trust my future self to handle with whatever comes next. Wherever we go, whatever we do, I can handle it. And that's the self-trust you want, to just be sure in yourself. And let me get to the next point, the next reason why you might overthink. And it's trauma, it's past trauma that you haven't let go. And I know there are different people say different things about past trauma. My personal belief is that it doesn't matter. It's in the past. We're holding on to, let's say, the pain, to we haven't forgiven ourselves being in that situation. We haven't forgiven the person, whoever that is, that did something to us. And we haven't forgiven the people around us for not helping us. So, in the simplest way, it's you haven't forgiven. You don't need to go through that trauma. You don't need to heal from that trauma. You only need to forgive yourself, forgive the other person, because you're not a victim and you're not a survivor. You're an experiencer. That's how I like to see it. I've gone through my share of trauma, and I don't like to see myself as a victim. And I don't like to see myself as a survivor. I like to see myself as an observer of this situation. And I experienced it and I grew from it. I let it go. I forgave myself. I forgave the people. If you know my story, I had a boyfriend once and he beat me into hospital many times. And I could have carried that. I could have seen myself as this victim, as this survivor. But I didn't want to. It didn't feel right to me. I like to see myself as that experience was important to me. It was important in my growth to become the person that I am today. This is the other one. It was important to become the person that I am today because without that experience and without all the other experiences that I've gone through or the other abuse, I probably wouldn't be here. But not letting go of it, holding on to it, helps you overthink. It helps you because you're afraid. You're carrying that fear. You're carrying that anger. You're carrying that resentment with you. And all of that goes into your filters in your brain, in your mind, that then comes out in thoughts, in feelings, in creating your reality. And how to say this? My sister, she's an overthinker. She hasn't forgiven our parents. She has her reasons, something that I didn't go through, but she did. And she said to me, I can't forgive them. And now, me being the one that I am, I said to her, no, that's bullshit. Of course you can. You don't want to because it feels safer to stay in that victimhood because you got used to it. And that's okay. The thing is, it's okay. No one blames you. At least you shouldn't blame yourself. You shouldn't shame yourself. You shouldn't judge yourself for it. The only thing I would ask you to do is to become aware that you're doing that you're holding on because it feels safe. Now you might say, but Anna, it doesn't feel nice. It doesn't feel good. I want to get rid of it. If that's the case, forgive yourself. Forgive them. They did the best they could with the resources they had at the time. And even if those resources weren't enough, and even if they hurt you physically, emotionally, it was the best they could do. But you feel safe in that space, holding it against them, that it keeps you stuck and that it keeps you in overthinking. And you carry that into your relationship. And you probably struggle to forgive your partner. If they make a mistake, you hold it against them on every opportunity that presents itself to you. Because that's what you do, because you struggle to let go. You struggle to forgive. You struggle. And that's okay. Become aware. And then, of course, you spiral. You spiral into, why did they do this? I can't trust them. I can't trust myself. But that thought might not even come to you, because that would be self-awareness. But at this point, you might not have it. You might still point it and push it to the other person. They do that to me. But when you become aware, you know that they just did what they did. It has nothing to do with you. You might have been the trigger, but you're not the reason. They had their reasons. Whatever they've gone through, it was theirs, and they just let it out on you. But you were just collateral damage. And it's probably happened to you as well, that you used other people as collateral damage for what you went through. I know I have. When I get angry or mad or overwhelmed, I say things, I do things that hurt other people. I know I'm not doing it on purpose, but that's me not knowing how to deal with it. And they are the collateral damage. They get it verbally, physically, however it is. Yeah, we do that. And when I do that to my partner, as soon as I become aware that I'm just in that mood, in that overwhelm, I now can communicate. I say, I don't know how to deal with it. I don't know what to do with it. Because it's triggering something from the past in me. It makes me feel like this small and weak and insecure. And I don't know how to deal with it. But just becoming aware of that, saying it, the next thought that comes then through my brain is, so what are you going to do with it? Are you holding on to it, or are you letting it go? Does it matter? Does it really matter? And not in the sense of course it matters, where your ego then comes up and says, yeah, of course it matters. I matter. Of course you do. But does it matter that you hold on to this now and start an argument, start a fight, start overthinking, or not? I like to sometimes think about this. Will I remember this in a week? Will it matter in a week? In a year? Will it still matter? And often it's no. So I let it go. It's like, okay, it feels like I should do it. Something inside me, yeah, this part of me says, you should fight for it. You should say it. You should get your revenge, your right, etc. But it's just for my little ego to be like, yeah, yeah, I've given it back to them. Kindergarten behavior. You hurt me, now I'm hurting you. So I feel triggered by what you said. Now I need to defend myself and maybe trigger something inside you. That's what we do then, because we don't know what else to do. But become aware. And when these traumas run the show, everything becomes suspicious. Yeah, you're suspicious of everyone and everything, even of yourself. But you're the only person you spend the rest of your life with for the next however many years you're going to live. 24/7. And yet you choose to do that to yourself. What's the reason for that? And don't give me, I can't. No, 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 no. We're not accepting that here. This is not the room for, I can't. At least be honest and say, I don't want to. I feel safe in this. Don't give me the I can't. So let's move to the next reason why you might overthink. And it's something that I see very, very, very often on social media. It's like, I'm a perfectionist. I'm a recovering perfectionist. And what that simply means is you're overthinking. It's the lack of self-trust again. It's the lack that when you don't micromanage, when you're not showing, living out your perfectionism, it makes you feel unsafe. So you go through all these scenarios. You need the control. You don't know what will happen. Or probably you know, or you think you know, that if it's not perfect, catastrophe. If it's not perfect, then no one will see it. If it's not perfect, no one will like it. If you're not perfect, no one will like you. So you micromanage, you go through this, you create these different scenarios, these different solutions for the different scenarios, and you need to micromanage every single one of them. And then, like I said before, as soon as a little detail changes, panic, because then you have to start from scratch, or maybe just start from where everything went wrong. And you overthink. Oh my God, you panic. So you need that control. That control gives you comfort. You feel safe in that control. So in the end, you're not a perfectionist. You're a controller. That control gives you comfort. And what I hear from my clients quite often that is part of that perfectionism, of micromanaging, of they need to understand in order to accept. So they need to understand why they behave in a certain way. Only then they can accept the circumstances, themselves, their behavior, their thoughts, what I'm saying. Only then, when they understand. But that's bullshit. You don't need to understand it. It helps. Yeah, don't get me wrong. When you understand why a person behaves in a way they do, it helps you, but it only helps you in the way that you now have a reason, you have now a justification, an external validation. But in order to accept what presents itself, yourself, you don't need anything. You just taught yourself that you need that. That if you know, then you can do this. But acceptance doesn't come from understanding. Because again, this sentence, they did the best they could with the resources they had at the time. If you understand that, that's enough. You don't need to go into the detail. Why did they cheat on me? Yes, it's helpful if you want to repair your relationship and say, okay, what was my part in that? What did I do so that made them cheat on me? What part did I play in this situation, in this scenario? But to ask the person, why did you do that? And they answer you, you might not like it, and it goes and you start overthink again. So you create a new cycle of overthinking. Alternatively, you could ask, what was it that I couldn't give you? Again, we're not asking why. We're asking what? What was it? What was the reason? What could I give you and the other person could, or that experience could? It takes away the defense and it opens up communication. That's what you want. So, getting back to that, you overthink because you want to be perfect. Now tell me, are you a recovering perfectionist? If that's the case, then think about the inner critic that we talked about yesterday. And that's the inner critic talking to you. They are there to keep you safe from emotional harm. We get into that tomorrow on the how, but just know for now that that's not you. That's part of you. And that part wants to keep you safe. And it keeps you safe by telling you you need to control, you need to make everything perfect. And if it doesn't, if it's not perfect, if you can't control it, you spiral. And of course, even until you get there, you overthink. You think about all the different scenarios, everything that you need to be prepared for. And that's exhausting. And with that, particularly in a relationship, when you're with a perfectionist or when you are the perfectionist, it becomes hard for the other person because for you, everything needs to be perfect. You have your expectation how things should go. And often people can't fulfill that. They might not even know that that's your expectation and they act, but it's not what you expected. So your expectation is unfulfilled. It frustrates you. You overthink. Why didn't they see that? Why didn't they do that? Why did they do it this way? They should know better. These sentences, these thoughts come up. You judge your partner because they didn't fulfill your expectations, even though they didn't know you had those expectations. How could they? Because you never told them. Often because you're not sure what they are. You just have this idea. And in the Back to Me, we talk about this again, coming back to the words, that we use words. I want them to be loyal. And you probably haven't even a definition, a defined idea of how does that look like. And yet you have that expectations. And if they don't behave in a way that that expectation gets ticked off, they say, yeah, you overthink. They are doomed because you now have them on your list like, that's not working. That's not working for me. And you come back to the victimhood. Why are they doing this to me? Why can't they see what I need? The question is, why didn't you figure out what you need and told them? What's holding you back to be that person, to be that self-aware, have that self-trust, and just tell them how that looks like? When was the last time you took the time that you thought about what is it that I want? And that's another big point in the program. What do you want? Do you know what you want, or do you just have this list of what I don't want? And do you sometimes, when you have that list of what do I don't want, do you find that you get exactly what you don't want? Maybe a bit different, but yet very much the same. That's because that's what you're looking for. Your brain is looking for that. But when you stop, when you switch and say, what do I want? it becomes clear, and then your brain can go exactly after that. And that brings me to the end of my reasons. Now I have homework for you to prepare for tomorrow, for our third and last day. And I'm going to copy it in the notes. There we go. Paste and send. So, in what situation do you fall into these thought behavior patterns? You might not be aware of the thought patterns, but more familiar with the behavior patterns. So just to make you aware that you might not be at that point where you know, oh, these are my thoughts that create my feelings and the feelings that create my behavior. And that is okay. Look at your behavioral patterns. What do you do? And write down the situations, short bullet points, yeah, for your why. So, what your why is, take a guess if unsure, and what you would like to be different about your reaction or thoughts. So, how do you react now? And how would you like to react? So, we come back to the what do you want? What do you want it to look like? Write that down. Think about it. Bullet points. Doesn't have to be a novel. Just and let your brain do the magic over the day. Give it time. I like to put it in my notes. So whenever something comes up, it's like, put it in there. Have another point. Even if it doesn't make sense, you don't need to analyze it. Don't need to overthink it. No judgment, no shame, no blame. Just put it in there. And tomorrow we come to the how. So how can you stop overthinking? And with that, thank you very much. And I see you tomorrow.